So welcome everyone. It's good to see you. As most of you probably know already, we're currently going through all the stages of the practice. We're discussing the practice step by step, and we're currently talking about a certain set of tools that we can use during the practice to make things a bit more easy and to help us actually go deeper into states of concentration, bliss and easefulness. And as is customary since a few sessions, I always go through all the various stages once more to give you different perspectives, different perceptions of those stages, so that you can actually appreciate them from various different angles. So it's not just bluntly repeating everything that I've said before, but giving you different kind of insights and tools for each one of those stages. We always start obviously with the preparation, which is really important part of the practice. It sets the stage. It actually helps you to enter the practice in a healthy and wholesome way and create a good direction. So the first one is your posture. It should be upright and relaxed. It has these two qualities. The second one is the breath. The breath should be comfortable. That's the primary quality. Secondary quality here is deep. So you want to breathe more deeply than you usually would, particularly in the beginning stages until the end of stage one. Then after that, the breath should just simply be comfortable. Then the third preparation is your attitude, which is just as important as your outer posture, is your inner posture, as I sometimes call it. The attitude should be kind and compassionate. Kindness here is basically acceptance. Compassion is a form of understanding or wishing yourself to be free from suffering. It's the whole point of actually sitting down and doing the practice. It is to gain, in steps, gradually, a freedom from suffering, which is not a sudden process, which is a gradual process. It becomes ever more refined as you go deeper. So we start with one of the coarsest forms of suffering, which is stress and tension in the body. And that's the first stage of the practice. Becoming sensitive to the way you're holding your body, noticing whether it is stressed or relaxed. See where it is that you're holding habitual tension, for example, in the body. And just becoming aware of that already helps you to let go of it. It's like becoming aware of a harmful or a negative of a habit that you have, and just by becoming aware of it, you might just develop the wish to let go of it, or you might immediately let go of it as soon as you see that it's harmful. So holding tension habitually in your body obviously is quite harmful, so it is a clever thing to let go of it. So that's what we learn in the first stage. Second stage here, we're letting go of the tension that is created in the mind by constantly thinking about the future or the past. Just like tension in the body, tension in the mind means that the mind is not present. It's not here. That's a big problem. If the mind is not present, if the mind is not here, you're not efficient at whatever you're doing. Whether you have a simple conversation with a friend, or you're doing work, or whatever it is, or you're listening to someone else. If you're not present, then you're not getting the information that you could be getting. You're not learning, you're not growing, you do bad work. So it's important to be present in what we're doing. A simple way of, for example, just training presence is to concentrate on what you're doing throughout your daily life. Simple things like when you're washing your hands, when you're eating your lunch, when you have a conversation with your loved one. Can you concentrate on that? That will improve already the state of mind that most people are in. If your mind is scattered, you're inefficient. Right? Then when that deepens eventually, you become so strong in the ability to listen to what's going on that there is no more necessity for the mind to make words. So in the third stage, you're dropping talking to yourself. Self-talk. Talking to yourself in your own head. It's not necessarily a sign of sanity that we are talking to ourselves in our own heads all day long. And most of you would agree probably that we could do with less negative self-talk just to get that started. So maybe in the beginning it would be important to focus on that before you completely let go of talking to yourself in your own head. Can you at least reduce negative self-talk a little bit and enhance positive self-talk? Can you, in other words, encourage yourself? Can you uplift yourself? Can you give yourself a good time? Can you talk to yourself the way you would like to be talked to? So if you can do that, of course, life will be significantly more easy on you. If you can give yourself a good time, if you can care for yourself, using the words that you address to yourself carefully, paying attention to the way you talk to yourself. This is important stuff. I'm not just saying it because it's fashionable or something like that. I'm saying it because it's super important for you guys, for all of you, including myself. It is important to learn to speak to ourselves wisely, kindly, truthfully, honestly. It's very refreshing. But then, of course, in the third stage, you completely abandon self-talk. You let go of talking to yourself completely, and you're discovering the pleasure of silence, how nice it actually is when there's a complete absence of words. When you are purely, in other words, listening to what is happening right here, right now. You could also describe the third stage as a fascination with life, with this moment, with yourself. You're fascinated by what's really going on right now. And there's so much going on, so many feelings and sensations in the body, sounds around you, all kinds of sounds. Some are very far away, some very close by. Some carry meaning, others don't. As you dive deeper into the realm of silence, the mind will become more interested in stillness after a while. Kind of will experience movement as almost like a sort of friction, as a bit of an agitation. So it desires the freedom from movement. It wants to become very still because it discovers that whenever it becomes still, it feels very, very good. It feels very fulfilling, blissful even. So you start to discover that, and you notice that you can make yourself happy. You can feed yourself. Because happiness is nourishment. It is food, isn't it? When you're happy, you have a whole lot of energy and power to do things that you want to do. And you do them more efficiently also. But when you're unhappy, even your favorite food doesn't taste good anymore. Life loses its splendor, you can say. It appears as empty to the one who is sad, to the one who is depressed, without energy. So happiness equals energy. And I'm not talking about a state of mind which is nervous and jittery, that kind of happiness that arises when you read a joke and you laugh about it. I'm not talking about that kind of happiness. I'm talking about the happiness deriving out of stillness. The mind completely coming to a halt. Just staying with one thing. And that's why we do breathing meditation. One, to give the mind some power. You give it strength by feeding it. And two, to be able to make yourself happy. And that's a good ability to have, I would say. To be able to make yourself happy. So you do not have to bother other people with your needs, right? This is where all relationship problems come from. Because we somehow have the idea that other people make us happy or sad. That's not true. We ourselves make ourselves happy or sad. Nobody else can do that for us. And so this kind of dependency on other people and their action falls away That is a major freedom. You don't have to be a slave to other people's behaviors anymore. This is wonderfully liberating. It's so nice. It's a great type of freedom. And that freedom is not that kind of indifference, as it might sound to many people. It's like, oh, I don't care anymore what others do. The opposite is the case. Because now you're well nourished, you're full of happiness, you are fulfilled within your mind, you have power in your mind, you're in the position to give and share. You have then something to contribute to society, which is actually very, very much needed in this world. It's a bit of peace, a bit of happiness, a bit of well-being. Somebody that's not out there complaining, but somebody that's out there being at ease. And the world definitely needs more of that. Now, we are now talking about various tools, right? Like kindness, compassion, etc. So recently we've covered curiosity as a driving factor for meditation. Another factor is evaluation, like evaluating your practice and what you're doing actually. And today I'm talking a little bit about factor of perception and what kind of role that plays in your meditation practice as well as in daily life. So first of all, perception is a way of seeing things, including yourself. You can have certain perceptions of yourself. You can see yourself in certain ways. The way you see yourself or the world is formed or conditioned by your belief systems. Belief systems are formed and conditioned by the cultures you grow up in, the societies you live in, the people you hang out with, the books you read, the media you consume, etc. All that either feeds into an existing belief system and makes that stronger, or it creates new ones as we go along. And so these belief systems, these underlying belief systems that you have of how you think the world runs and how you think people are and how you think you yourself are as a person, these belief systems, they determine how you actually see the world and how you actually perceive yourself, how you look at yourself, whether you think you can do this or you can't do this, whether you think that you are making progress on the path of meditation or not, whether you think you're a failure or a winner, whether you think of yourself as a hopeless case or somebody that has hope. All that determines your experience. So your perceptions, in turn, condition the way you experience life and yourself. So this is hugely important. But first of all, how can we make perceptions work in our meditation practice? Well, many people complain when they sit down and they do meditation practice that it's quite boring just focusing on the breath. In my opinion, that comes from two reasons. One, we're going to the breath way too early. We are not sufficiently prepared to actually encounter the breath. Breath is quite a subtle object. But most of us are so lost in our thoughts in future and past and this and that we don't have the capacity to even stay with the breath for a few seconds. So it's important to prepare yourself. That's why there are all these previous steps. Like in Thailand, you only enter a house or you enter a temple taking off your shoes before you do so. So similarly, when you enter the breath or enter breathing meditation, you want to take off your shoes, wash your feet, dress up a little bit, and then approach the breath appropriately. And the second reason why many people don't have success with their breathing is because they're not creatively using their perception. They just kind of try to focus on their breath and hope that it somehow will work. Also having no idea what it means, it will work. And just try something. Okay, I'm supposed to focus on the breath, so here I sit, trying to focus on my breath. I've read that in a magazine, or the meditation teacher told me to focus on my breath or something like that, and then we just try to do that. What's actually the point of that? Why would you actually focus on your breath? You got to have an understanding of that before you actually jump into the practice. What is the whole point of that? Why sit down, close your eyes, and try to keep your mind with just one thing? The more understanding you have, and most of the understanding, at least the intellectual part, comes here from such classes. Gathering together and exploring these points. Now, creatively using your perceptions, what does that mean? Well, how could you experience your breath as something a bit more interesting rather than just in and out of air? Now, remember that your perception conditions your experience. So I mentioned some examples in the guided meditation that we just did, right? Some of you have noticed that today I was talking a little bit about perception and how to play with it, like breathing in through your arms, for example. I'm not sure if some of you actually could feel that. And if you could play with that a little bit, just imagining that the breath comes in through different parts of the body. For example, coming in through the meditation cushion, moving up your spine. Or sinking down in the body as you breathe in. You can be super creative with that. Breathing in and out through all of your pores as if your body was kind of like a giant sponge or something like that. Or feel that you're sitting underwater and you're breathing in and out a heavier substance than air. This is not really thinking as such. We're not using words in these scenarios. It's more like a visualization just without the image. You directly want to tap into those feelings. And if you concentrate on those various different feelings, you create an actual experience. For example, breathing in, your body fills with air and becomes more light. Breathing out, the body expands, becomes even lighter. If you do that for a little while and you actually get some concentration going with that, at some point you will start to feel like your body is floating. It becomes so light, the experience of your body becomes so ethereal, so this is amazing, this is special, this is something that actually keeps you interested in the breath. Because you have consciously designed, through your clever use of perception, an experience which is interesting. It makes you curious. What are the possibilities? Can you make yourself feel heavy, like you're sinking into the ground? Can you make yourself feel like your head is inflating like a balloon while the rest of your body becomes more and more tiny as you breathe out? Can you feel like the breath is sweeping through the entire body, removing impurities and toxins and stress, making yourself gradually more and more calm, rather than just leaving it up to hope? I hope I get more calm. Make calmness by using your perception of your breath, feeling like the in-breath is making you nice and calm. And I guarantee you, the breath will never be boring again in your life. You will actually start to really enjoy your breath, because the breath is something that conditions your experience. The experience of your body, the experience of your mind, the experience of your vitality, levels of energy that you have. It conditions your radiance, conditions the experience of joy, happiness, etc. You can go absolutely wild with that. And that's a nice thing to play around with. Discovering these various possibilities that you have to heal yourself, to let go of pain, to work on your character even. You can use various breath perceptions to work on your character traits. Let's say, for example, that you have a bad habit of, I don't know, getting angry at the slightest little thing that happens. If that is you, you could use your breath, actually learning to breathe out this habit. Visualizing that this anger is slowly leaving your body. You can go crazy with that. You can go under the shower. When you're showering, you can imagine that you're washing off this psychological trait of anger. Why does that work? Very simple, because your brain does not know the difference between an imagination and an actual fact. Your brain doesn't know that the water can't wash off anger. But if your mind suggests that it can, your brain goes, okay, I guess that's true then. I guess I'm getting better. And at first it's maybe you're not really believing in it, but over time, if you invest faith and you start really believing in yourself and your ability to recreate yourself as a person, a different person. Who tells you that you have to be you, the way you are right now? Are you limited to that? Is that it? Is that all you can be? The person that you are right now? Who holds you to that? Who limits you to that? Is it not possible for you to grow? Can you not redesign and reshape your mind, your belief systems? Are they not flexible? Are your belief systems not something that is conditioned? So does that not imply that they can be changed? So who is responsible for changing your belief systems? You, right? You have that power and that responsibility to change your belief systems in ways that are useful for you and useful to the people around you, of course. That are not useful only for yourself, but also for society. That is a big responsibility. We're not just selfishly creating nice belief systems that I like, but I also make sure that they're beneficial in the long run for myself and society. Because you have the power to change who you think you are. Oh, I'm always so scared. Some people say, I'm always so scared. I don't know how to get rid of the fear. Here you're believing yourself to be that powerless, helpless victim, which is overruled by fear and has no idea how to deal with this bad fear. It's that self-image which you're holding in that very moment, which holds you back from actually changing your belief systems. That you can deal with fear, that you can face it, that you can grow through it, etc. That you can overcome it, that you can grow. Who says you can't? And who says that that is true, that you can't? So I got sidetracked a little bit. Obviously, we can use our breath in many creative ways to help with this process of actually exhaling old belief systems, inhaling new ones, and really feeling that you are actually changing through this. As I said before, your brain doesn't know whether you're actually changing or not. So you're making clever use of the well-known placebo effect. It's there for your use. Make use of it. It works. Who you believe you are is a placebo. It's a belief. And it works, doesn't it? It makes you who you are. It makes you act the way you act. It makes you talk the way you talk. It's pretty pervasive. changing that is an option that you have, and using your breath and using your perceptions shows you that power in a very simple way. It shows you that you can design your experience while you're meditating. So that's why I would encourage you guys to use it. Sit down next time when you're doing your practice and play a little bit with it. How can you make your breath more interesting and enjoyable? How can you make it calming if you're nervous and anxious? How can you make it uplifting if you're tired? Play with it, okay? So that's all that comes to mind for perceptions tonight. It's not very much, but actually it's quite a lot. Are there any questions?